Hello, I'm Marty Wimmer of WNED-Classical, and welcome to the latest Buffalo Toronto Public Media video interview. I'm here today with Dr. Robert Strauss, who's on the music faculty at SUNY Fredonia, and he's also the director of the Buffalo Gay Men's Chorus. And the Buffalo Gay Men's Chorus is celebrating its 20th anniversary this year. So Rob is here to talk about that, the 20 years, and a couple of upcoming concerts as well. So welcome, Rob Strauss. Nice to have you here.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
You have some great concerts coming up celebrating your 20th anniversary. So first of all, when and where are they?
Great. We're doing 3 performances. The first is Saturday, May 14th at 2 p.m. at the Stuart Steiner Theater in Batavia. Sunday, May 15th at Orchard Park United Methodist Church. That's at 3 p.m. And then finally, Saturday, May 21st, 7:30 p.m. at Temple Beth Zion on Delaware in Buffalo.
That's a pretty packed schedule, so good for you. The gentleman must be very, very excited about this. You know, when I think about the Buffalo Gay Men's Chorus concerts, I've been to them myself, I often see a mixed audience. What types of people attend Buffalo Gay Men's Chorus concerts?
Well, I think you're exactly right. And I think what's sort of interesting about the group is that we're not linked to a genre of music. You know, we're not an early music group. We're not an oratorio group. And we've got wonderful examples of that in Buffalo with the Buffalo Philharmonic Chorus or so on and so forth. So I think that draws a lot of different people to sing with us. You know, our mission is about LGBTQ plus rights and activism and just finding community all at the same time. So our audience ranges in age, in demographic, just as much as the chorus does.
Sure. Do you ever have kids or teenagers in the audience? And do they enjoy the concert as well?
Well, I think so. I mean, what teenager enjoys anything? I'm recently no longer a teenager, so I remember how that was. But yeah, I mean, if you're asking if it's family friendly, yes, I think that it is. And I know that, you know, children and grandchildren of singing members attend and enjoy the performance, I think, as much as the adults do.
Yeah, you know, some people watching this video right now may not understand what the whole concept of a gay men's chorus was in the first place. Why did gay men's choruses develop? What was their relevance a few decades ago when they did develop, and how has that changed and evolved over the years?
Oh, for sure. And what a great question. Well, the movement, the LGBTQ plus choruses, there were a few that started in the late 70s, but it really ballooned in the 1980s because of the AIDS crisis and the necessity of the gay community to find ways to stand up and say, look what's happening to us, notice us, do something about it. And also, again, to find community with other like people in the community so that they could share their stories and in that time share their grief and their struggles, for sure. And you know, that continued on. This group in particular started in 2001, and obviously we didn't have marriage equality yet. We were still fighting for some of those basic rights. So even today in 2022, when we get up on the stage, we are activists by just proclaiming who we are unashamedly, and so that other people who might be questioning their own identities can see. You remember the It Gets Better project several years back, and so we're sort of our own It Gets Better. You know, we've struggled, we've dealt with finding our identities, and tonight we proclaim them for you. And we may not be beating you over the head with all of our repertoire. It doesn't preach to you about it necessarily, but just by standing there, we are activists. And so in 2022, I think something that this group and other groups like it are really great about is questioning our relevance, Are we
Mhm.
still relevant? How can we be relevant? And so in 2022, there's a lot more conversation about gender identity and people who are trans and people who are non-binary, or who don't know what their place is in defined gender identities and are struggling or working to find their own. And we're having discussions about that. How can we include those people or advocate for them? As in the past, we relied on our straight allies to help us move our rights forward. And so we're looking for those opportunities as well.
Yeah, when I think about people who started these choruses decades ago, in light of the AIDS crisis that was at its height in the 80s and the early 90s, the word courage keeps coming to my mind, because it must have been, for some of the older gentlemen now who may still be in your chorus, a real risk to stand up there on a choral riser in public and then, pronouncing who they were. And I look at that courage over all these years, and today we have new challenges in our world today that still require courage from the singers. And I think it's just admirable. Can you speak to the courage of maybe some of your older guys who were, the originators of all of this?
I'm happy to, and I think, but on one by one token, I don't want to speak for them, because I think their stories are fascinating. I think their stories, as you say, so much courage, and I don't want to take credit for their courage, as far as that goes. But absolutely, in the entire movement, I mean, people would use pseudonyms. I don't think that happened in this organization a lot, but people would be afraid of losing their jobs. Or maybe they weren't completely out to their friends or family and didn't want to appear in pictures or publicity. And so, yes, there was a lot of courage just walking on the stage. We never know who's going to be the audience, right? And so many of them talk, one of the moments in their history was singing. I'm going to get all the details wrong, and I apologize to my singers who have told me these stories so many times, and I promise I've paid attention, but I'm just as smart as I look. So I'm only going to remember part of it, but they were singing at a Catholic church, and there were protesters outside, and so they sort of formed a human barrier for their audience members to walk past, so that the singers were standing between the protesters and their audience members arriving. And they don't talk about how brave they had to be to do that, but just how meaningful that whole performance was, that their audience members showed up. And I mean, if I remember correctly, it was only 10 or 15 years ago at tops. Right.
Wow.
So despite the circumstances and how horrible it is to have people holding signs proclaiming you not worthy, and perhaps people yelling at you, that you're protecting you. They were standing there to protect others who are coming to their performance, and just the repertoire that they sang there was so meaningful to them because of the circumstances of the performance. So I think, things like that take a lot of courage.
And yet how far we've come, because you just recently sang at a Buffalo Sabres game in front of how many people in an arena? I mean, that's real progress.
It really is. And I should say at this point that I am a Western New York native. I grew up in Kenmore. Kenmore East High School, yay, go Bulldog. But my dad used to take me to Sabres games at the old auditorium, as far as that goes. So it was, on a personal level, it was really meaningful for me to be there, and thinking of how my dad would have loved that. That it was sort of the community that he loved, the sports community in Buffalo. He loved the Sabres, he loved the Bills, as so many people do. But stereotypically, that community wouldn't have been accepting of his son's community. And he would have loved that this in 2022, we had the opportunity, we also sang in 2021, and that that they're having a Pride night for a Sabres game is so amazing, that the players are all wearing for their warm-up rainbow colored jerseys, and there's not a single one of them who's creating a stink. No, I don't want to. It was really, really wonderful to be there, and we felt very, very accepted and very appreciated. And so it was certainly a milestone for us.
Sure. Yeah, it's been a long road, and there's still more to go, but we have to look back at those people who, the generations of gay men who came before, that really sort of plowed this path to where we are today. And it's up to our generation to keep plowing the path forward for the younger folks. So hats off to all those brave people from the past years. Now, I was at your rehearsal last night, and this is kind of a change in topic, but I noticed that you were rehearsing the Ukrainian national anthem. First of all, the pronunciations were a little bit tricky, like the fresh cheese idea. But do current affairs and world affairs sometimes help drive your programming? I know it does in terms of LGBTQ issues, but that's a real worldwide issue going on right now. And I was just interested in your choice of the Ukrainian national anthem.
Well, yeah, thank you for asking. And as a matter of fact, I have a very healthy ego, and I will take credit for a lot of things. But I'll say, a handful of the members at rehearsals throughout this process, and as that situation developed and continues to unfold, they're the ones who came up to me and said, "Hey, we have a large Ukrainian population in the city, and we really want to show our support in some way. Can we sing the Ukrainian national anthem at our concert to show our support?" And I think that's it speaks to our relevance, sort of going back to a previous conversation. I mean, certainly we're going to sing it for anybody LGBTQ plus in the Ukraine, but it's not just us to just them. It's, here are people who are struggling, who are being oppressed in some way, and we know how that feels, and we want to use our, we're gaining privilege. Some of us have privilege because we're white, some of us have privilege because we're men, for sure, and we know and we understand that and are learning about that. But again, they're the ones who came up to me, and I, independent of each other, 3 or 4. And so I just, I put together an arrangement that honored the beautiful anthem that they have, that we could put together and sound good on. I have a background in Russian diction, not Ukrainian diction, but it's close enough that I have examples, like it's sort of like saying fresh cheese when we go
right.
As far as that goes. And so we're gonna give it a good go.
Oh, that's great.
And show our support. Yeah.
And it goes back to that, as you said, that idea of relevance. I mean, there's so many ways to be relevant, even if it's just emotional support, that we know what's going on with you, that we care. And I think that's an important message. I was noticing last night too, you have a fabulous accompanist. I didn't get to meet her, didn't get to say hello or anything, but I was watching her fingers and I was listening to her play, and she almost seems like a mind reader, like she knows where you are in the music and what has to happen. Who is your accompanist, and what makes her so good?
This may end up on the editing room floor, although we'll give a shout out to her. She was a sub. Unju John is her name, and she is a private collaborative pianist. She lives in Fredonia. She plays for a number of, really a lot of our vocal students here at Fredonia, and she works in my studio. And I reached out, I'm like, are you available? And I got her the scores on Monday for Tuesday night. So I think that's even a greater appreciation for her. Yeah. If I can sort of jump off that's one of the wonderful things about, I think, this group in general is the opportunity. In this concert, we're going to be featuring a violinist on a couple pieces. We're going to have a guitar and a tin whistle in another piece.
Oh, wow.
And maybe featuring some other other people along the way. And the Buffalo Gay Men's Chorus has a really long history of collaborating with Buffalo area, other Buffalo area musicians, and also commissioning works. As far as that goes. So we try not to be too insular as well, and be part of the Buffalo community at the same time, which I think is so important.
You know, you were having a lot of fun last night. So were your singers. And I learned a new word, and that new word was choreography. It sounds a lot like choreography, but it's a little bit different. Tell us about choreography and how it applies to your men at the Buffalo Gay Men's Chorus.
Perfect. Well, you're absolutely right. It comes from choreography, doesn't it? And the term we in the choral realm, we use it, the choreography, because we're not doing jazz squares, we're not doing grapevines, we're really not moving our feet at all. So it's a whole lot of body positions and hand gestures and whatnot. But you know, we're an interesting group because we're not linked to a specific genre of music. And so our members and our audience come from all walks of life and have different interests. They're not coming to us because they want to hear early music. They're not coming to us because they want to hear oratorio. They're not coming to us because they want to hear pop music. We do all of it. And so we were performing or rehearsing You Can't Stop the Beat from the musical Hairspray. And there's no way we can't move when we're doing that.
You Marsha Brady before you improv. It might have been Greg, but I always think it's Marsha.
And so I was working with them. I'm sort of a, to toot my own horn, I'm sort of a weird individual that I have a little bit of a background in show choir. Shout out to Tom Doyle and the Kenmore East Company, a song where we would, you know, we would do a show choir. So I have a little bit of that, and I've been in musical theater and worked with things. So I created the moves that we call choreography, hopefully simple enough. It's also, frankly, as I was telling them last night, the gestures are also meant to help them memorize the words. I mean, the downfall of that is if they don't remember either, who knows what's going to come out of their mouth or with their bodies. But I think it also gives our audience a little bit something extra, a little bit of, you know, you'll listen to beautiful oratorio pieces, you'll listen to really meaningful commissioned works for the LGBTQ plus movement, or also a work we're doing that really represents Black Lives Matters. But then we'll also have this moment that's just, I hope, for the audience anyway, is pure fun.
I know that you have singers in your group who have all sorts of levels of musical training and experience. I'm sure you have people that might even have degrees in music, and you might have people that don't know one note from the other. How do you, as a director, manage to keep the ones who really read quickly and learn quickly from getting frustrated or bored, while at the same time carrying along the folks who might not read notes and rhythms very well? How do you manage all of the different skill levels that you must have in your group?
That's great, and it's certainly a common problem, or obstacle or challenge, maybe is a better word than problem. But I think that what I try to do, and hope I'm successful, is create this culture. Well, first of all, you know, some people can read the language of music, right? They see the notes on the page and they can sight read and they understand, as you say. And so they'll be kind of quick about it. But some people are really, really quick oral learners. So they'll hear the part played and then they'll have it. And so, you know, not everybody falls into one of those two groups. So there's even that. But I think part of the culture that I try to create is that the people who feel more comfortable with the music more quickly are then helping the others.
Oh, that's a great way to,
you know, and in a kind way. I think it's also important to not, you miss this note, but instead, oh, I noticed, you know, with the Ukrainian diction, there might be people in the room who know the Ukrainian. So I'm going to lean on you to help me learn my part, but I'm going to help you with the Ukrainian or the French that we're singing. Or, you know, you're more comfortable in this style, but I understand this style of music better. So we'll lean on each other or the dancers. And I really do Again, I don't want to say that I'm completely successful with it. I think there certainly are some people who maybe do, as you say, either feel bored because they pick up on the music more quickly than others, or struggle so much because they feel like they pick it up too slowly. But I really do try to create the culture and operate the rehearsals in such a way that there's a lot of repetition, but not bogging it down in the mud where there's so much time for people to get frustrated or bored.
Yeah, it's got to be a balancing act. I'm sure. Maybe you've gotten it over the years. I've been following the Buffalo Gay Men's Chorus since its inception 20 years ago, and there's an interesting story about the day of the first rehearsal of the Buffalo Gay Men's Chorus. Could you share that story with us? It's truly a fascinating story.
Yes, absolutely. Well, the powers that be in the city of Buffalo wanted to create a gay men's chorus, and they had been laying the infrastructure and getting the 501c3 status and hiring an artistic director and putting together a team and having auditions. And they planned the first rehearsal, and people were very excited leading into this rehearsal. The very first rehearsal of this group was scheduled for September 11th, 2001. And for those of us who were alive at that time or have read our history books, that was a really, really tragic day in the history of the United States. And so there was a lot of debate through the day whether rehearsal would be held or not. And the decision was made that we would have rehearsal. I was not the artistic director at the time, of course. So I should say they made the decision to have rehearsal. Anyway, hearing stories of the people who were there was a lot of talking, there was a lot of holding hands, there was a lot of crying, there was a lot of silence. But they absolutely did sing, and the song that they sang is a Quaker song, How Can I Keep From Singing? And so they sang it in that very first rehearsal, and they have sung it in every rehearsal since. It has been performed in all of our major performances. Henceforth, it will be in this 20th anniversary concert. But I should also say, during the time of the pandemic, when we were having virtual rehearsals and having virtual concerts, the song took on an even greater meaning to us, because we were sitting in our living rooms or our kitchens or our attics. We were on Zoom, and you can't rehearse properly on Zoom. And I don't know how much you or the listeners know about what a virtual choir is. It's a real pain in the patootie, because it's a bunch of people they have a recorded track and they're sitting in their kitchen and they're singing along by themselves. We have a group of people who don't consider themselves to be soloists, most of them. And they only feel comfortable singing when other people are singing with them. And I try to create that culture also, that they have that comfort. So these people who are participating in that were, going right against all their fears, recording these and sending me the recordings for us to put together. And we just found again, as on September 11th, 2001, and as in every rehearsal and every performance, that the answer to that question, how can we keep from singing, is that we can't. We have such a community of people who want to be there, who need to be there, who have to be there. And so it wasn't just part of our origin story, if you will, but it continues to be part of our ongoing history.
Yeah, that's a really fascinating story. I mean, just talk about, just coincidentally happening to be such an important milestone day in the history of our country, and to have it associated with the beginning of the chorus, and having it become what happened that day become a tradition. I think that's really it's certainly a unique story. I'm not sure what another word for it would be. It's not happy, but it certainly it grounds you in something that I think is really fascinating. I remember Barb Wagner was director back then,
Yes.
and what a wonderful director she was, and a good friend to so many people. Couple more questions. You came on board as director in 2019.
Did.
And then COVID hit. And so everything kind of blew up, and all of the adversity that we all faced through COVID, which we just sort of mentioned a minute ago, now that hopefully we're coming out of this COVID situation eventually. I noticed that you're rehearsing, but you're rehearsing carefully and with masks, and people are spread apart. And God willing, if this is finally, being put behind us and we're starting to move on with life, what is your vision now for the chorus? It's been through a lot with COVID. You lost some members through COVID due to, just attrition and people being a little afraid to come back. And so where are you now, and where do you plan to be 4 or 5 years from now?
I think that's a great question, and I want to give you a great answer. But I won't. No, I'll try. We've been having these discussions, as I hinted, about, gender identity. Do you need to be a man to sing with us? And our conversation is, you do not need to identify as a man. You need to be able to sing tenor, baritone, or bass, and being inclusive in that way. Are there ways that we can be advocates for other people? We were co-commissioners of a piece in 2020 during the pandemic that 10 or 11 other choruses created. It's called Heavy. We're singing it on this concert, but it is the response of the poet who wrote the words and the composer who wrote the music of the murder of George Floyd, and their feelings. And it's interesting. Just in this period of time, social media is what it is, but we have more immediate information about things that are happening and more perspectives. And I think that's where we find ways that our society has been more sexist than we were aware, or more racist than we were even aware, or more homophobic than even the people who experienced homophobia understood. So having these conversations within the organization about how we can be inclusive and how we can advocate for other people, I think is an important part of what we do, while still honoring our members who are still singing with us, and not betraying our history or ignoring our history, or poo-pooing the battles and the fights and the successes that we've had as we go on. So I think that's an important part of our future. As I said, we want to make sure that we're still relevant. If we're not relevant, well, we can get together and sing for sure, but I think we want to have a different relevance than that.
Yeah.
And just always looking to these other things. There's a lot of things happening in our country right now, and I'm sure that we'll be having discussions about that, and how we can be on the forefront of making sure that we continue to have the rights that we have fought for so hard and won. And if we encounter the protests again, we want to be the barrier between our supporters and these protesters in the future.
Well, Rob, your answer to that question leads perfectly into my next question. And that is that I get the impression that there's so much more to the Buffalo Gay Men's Chorus than just music. Music is at the core. It's the catalyst for what you do, but there's so much more to it. Tell us what some of that more is.
Well, absolutely. Now, as the artistic director, I'm supposed to say that music is the most important, and it is. It is. We get together because we want to sing, we want to make music. But as you say, people join this organization to sing because they want a social outlet. They want to find people who are like-minded, who have similar interests, like any social organization. Frankly, that it, as you say, it's not. These aren't professional musicians. We're not paying them to show up and play, a Bach prelude. But they want to, and they stay for the music. That's 100% true as well. But it's this community, this camaraderie, this social interaction that is so important to them as well. And I think, frankly, there have been, now that the movement has been longer lived, there have actually been, I've read some doctoral dissertations about why people sing with LGBTQ plus choruses, and articles published. And these are the two big things, because they want to make music and because they want to be with like-minded individuals and find community and social interaction. And I think that's another thing that we really try to balance, that I'm a taskmaster in rehearsal, as you saw, but at the same time, that there's a little bit of room to breathe and have some fun as we do it.
If someone watching us right now, having this wonderful conversation, decided they wanted to audition or join your group, or maybe buy tickets to an upcoming concert, or maybe make a donation in support of what you do, how could they do any of those things?
That's great. Yes. Well, our website is www.thebgmc.org, THEBGMC, BGMC, Buffalo Gay Men's Chorus. We would be BGMC if it wasn't for Boston Gay Men's Chorus, but they're great as well. So www.thebgmc.org. There's information about getting tickets. There's information about how to join the chorus. There's information about donating to the chorus. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram. We are on Twitter. So you can also find them there. I think it's all at the BGMC for all three of those. We're not on TikTok yet. We've talked about that. But most of us are of a certain age and we have to learn new technologies slower. So, so we're recruiting younger members who can teach us how to use TikTok.
So you really are looking for people. So if there is someone watching this right now and thought, maybe I'd like to join, they really could do that.
Yeah.
Go to your website and make that happen. That's really, really great. And you don't have to be a professional singer.
No,
or
if you've got a bucket,
musician.
If you've got a bucket, you can carry a tune in. We're all set.
That's
It's my job to make you sound good. You just need to be able to, essentially match pitch. So yeah.
Great.
But audience members, donors, we're happy to have this larger family as well.
That's just awesome. Well, we're going to be wrapping things up, but I wanted to give you a chance to tell us one more time about the upcoming concerts, when and where, and whatever you want to add to that.
Sure. Well, it's called One Voice, which I don't think that I've mentioned before, which just speaks to this sense of community and coming together and sharing a common message. The concert features all manner of repertoire from 2002, from 2007, from 2012. I don't know why I'm doing it in fives, but throughout the history, but a good number of new pieces as well, so that we're looking to the past, or honoring the past, but looking to the future. And the performances, we have three of them. May 14th, a Saturday, 2 p.m., Stuart Steiner Theater in Batavia. The following day, Sunday the 15th at 3 p.m. in Orchard Park United Methodist Church. And then finally, Saturday, May 21st at 7:30 p.m. at Temple Beth Zion in Buffalo. So
I really was unaware of that you travel around so much. So you go out to Batavia and Orchard Park and of course right here in the city of Buffalo. Well, that's just really wonderful. So we're all looking forward to these concerts. We would love it if there was a huge audience for all three locations: Batavia, Orchard Park, and Buffalo. I've been speaking with Dr. Robert Strauss. Rob Strauss is on the faculty of at SUNY Fredonia, the music faculty, and he's also director of the Buffalo Gay Men's Chorus. And Rob, it's been a real pleasure to speak with you today. Anything else you want to add before we say so long?
No, just thank you so much, and come see our concerts.
Great, and we will do. And I hope as well that anyone watching this right now will attend one of the concerts if you can. Buy tickets, bring a friend. If you think that you'd like to join the group, reach out. If you'd like to make a donation in support of the group because you appreciate the work that they do, that would be great too. All supporters, singers, non-singers, certainly welcome. And we appreciate the fact that you have tuned in. Thank you, Dr. Strauss. Rob, nice getting to know you. My name is Marty Wimmer of WNED-Classical, and thank you for listening to our interview. And we certainly hope to see you at the Buffalo Gay Men's Chorus 20th Anniversary Concerts coming up this May.